So, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce poet Marjorie Saiser, the Nebraska Arts Council's Distinguished Artist in Poetry for 2009. Her most recent books are, as you've heard, Beside You at the Stoplight from Backwaters Press, winner of the Little Blue Stem Award, and Rooms, published by Pudding House Publications in 2010. She is co-editor of the anthology Times of Sorrow, Times of Grace, and Road Trip, Conversations with Writers, both from the Backwaters Press. Marjorie received her MA in Creative Writing from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where she won both the Vreelands Award and the Academy of American Poets competition. In 2000, she received the Merit Award from the Nebraska Arts Council, and in 1999, the Literary Heritage Award from the Nebraska Literary Heritage Association. Several of her books have won the Nebraska Book Award. She has served on the boards of the Nebraska Center for the Book and the Jane Pope Geske Heritage Room of Nebraska Authors. Her poems have been published in Prairie Schooner, Georgia Review, Field, Crab Orchard Review, Queen City Review, and Dos Passos Review, and elsewhere, and have been featured both in Ted Kooser's nationally syndicated American Life in Poetry and Garrison Keillor's Writer's Almanac on Minnesota Public Radio. Distinguished editor and poet Hilda Raz has said of Marjorie Saiser's work, quote, Marge Saiser's brilliant poems are gifts of her vision, packed with sensory detail and the multiple perspectives of the accomplished artist. Saiser's poems take as their subject all aspects of family life. Through generations on the farm and in town, these poems everywhere meet and match the predations of despair, poverty, violence, and indifference with the assurance of love. Saiser counsels risk in the face of danger, faith in the natural world. She is the real thing, a poet working for us. And Pulitzer Prize winner and former poet laureate Ted Kooser writes, Marge Saiser's poetry is wise and generous and altogether genuine. No poet in this country is better at writing about love, and all her poems are in some way about love. Please welcome Marjorie Saiser.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for coming. And a special thank you to my friends who have heard these poems and still came. I'll read some poems dealing with the ordinary things of life. In this poem, the lovers are at the river, at the Platte. They've gone to stand in a little shed at night to see the cranes. It's March, and the cranes are on the Platte, even as we are here tonight, standing in that shallow water all night. You and I, the cranes, the river. The cranes were silhouettes that night, thousands lowering in long strings to land in the river. We stood at peepholes in a shed on the bank, silent, watching, and I began to wish someone could see us, witness us, you and I, durable in our heavy coats and scarves, looking out into the dark. We were not jaded then. Nothing remarkable happened for an hour, no talking. We didn't want to spook the cranes, standing on their sandbars, trilling their all-night song. Then you pointed toward a peephole in the western wall, turned my shoulders, mouthed a word, one word. Vapor rose from your mouth. Moon, you said. And we looked at it together. A thin, white, curved tusk, a filament, a lost string, a moon on its back. At a small window, we looked at the moon together. In this poem, the lovers are sleeping in. Weekends, sleeping in. No jump starting the day, no bare feet slapping the floor to bath and breakfast. Dozing instead in the nest, like, I suppose, a pair of gophers underground in fuzz and wood shavings. One jostles the other in closed-eyed luxury. We are, at last, perhaps, what we are, uncombed, unclothed, mortal, pulse and breath and dream. The lovers are taking a long walk together. The spark that flows between us. Our hands swinging as we walk side by side, our knuckles sometimes barely touching. We walk our 2 miles. Our 2 miles of putting one foot in front of the other. Your long legs, long reach, my short shanks. You carry my bottle of water. You carry more than that. You carry and I carry, some mornings into the 2nd mile, something electric, hanging around, you, me. A few electrons brushed from the bottom of the shoe give their charge to the larger body. So huge a leap. A small moon leaves its orbit, becomes part of something new. The gift of friction, the Big Bang all over again, the spark that flows between us. Humans walk a lot on sidewalks, on concrete, on tile, carpet. We don't as often walk on the earth itself. This poem is called Sometimes I Stray Deliberately. Sometimes I stray deliberately, leave the sidewalk to feel the earth give ever so little because I'm here. Cardinals sing to say they are passing through, have found a mate. Tonight at our table, you and I will pick over our meal across from one another, like birds on the ground. Like birds on the ground, we won't say much, as if to say, this is good, isn't it? This morsel, this huge life. Here the lovers are each in their own car, going across town, and one decides to give the other one a hard time. Pulling up beside you at the stoplight. We are going to the same place, but we take 2 cars. Sunday morning, and there's not much traffic. So I pull up beside you at the stoplight. There you are, in your car, beside my car, your profile in the window, the brown of your hair against your neck. You turn and blow me a kiss. I watch it float on by. I ask for another. I remember how you come into the dark bedroom on weekday mornings, the sound of your work boots across the carpet, the scent of your face when you find me in the covers, kiss my eyebrow and the corner of my mouth. Tell me the weather report and the precise time of day. So I roll down my window, whistle in my throat, pull my glasses crooked on my face, do my best baboon snorting, pound the horn as if it were bread dough. There is only the woman in the white Buick, but you are embarrassed, glad to see the green. Me, I'm stepping on the gas, catching up, wondering what I can do at 56th and Kelvin. But lovers don't always get along. This is called You Wonder Why We Don't Get Along. I'm brome grass, blue stem, lesbidiza, like a fur ball in the hand. 9 Mile Prairie is my hangout. I live there weekends with the ticks and the jaybirds and the swallow's slow arc from cedar to cedar. I'm the Platte, crossing and recrossing its own channels. I'm a prairie liar. I learned to walk on switchgrass, on cactus, toddling after a big man in boots checking on his cattle. Barefoot, silly baby, I couldn't keep up. And then his Herefords wheeled and charged. I'm used to the blank stare, a snort in the nostrils, my lullaby. I'm running still, unshod feet over unplowed ground. No screams from my mouth, open, soft as the evening primrose, silent, chased by my herd. What I left floorboards that squeak, piano with dust. I left a chair with a blue shirt hung over the back. I left the TV on in the dark, cop show and all the commercials. I kept a cardboard box of squash, some pumpkins. I kept the broken sidewalk. I left a woman on a highway with a sign, stop on one side, slow on the other. I kept lazy, clean the cupboards, don't let him down. I kept sorry I haven't written, I owe you a letter. I kept can't carry a tune in a basket, suit yourself, tomorrow or the next day. I kept not worth his salt, not worth his time. I left leave me alone, too much alone, let it alone, let it go. I kept watchdog, don't get out of the car. I left plum brush, windfall, longhorn, Angus, Charlet. I left original sin, confess your sin, forgive yourself. He didn't mean anything by it. I kept Saturday night dance, don't get the big head, stay in your own pay grade. Don't kill bull snakes. Don't tell your mother she lies. Don't count on it. Don't breathe a word. Don't kid yourself. I never left. I never kept anything. One day I was in a museum standing in front of a statue of an Egyptian scribe, reading what it was telling me about the scribe. And two lovers stood nearby, kissing like crazy. To the Egyptian scribe. In front of your statue in the museum, a man in a t-shirt and ball cap kisses a woman who has curly hair in a rubber band at the nape. She kisses back and then reads aloud a sign which declares a scribe was an artist and pieces of his work were always placed in his tomb. Scribe, who died having loved whatever you loved, what did you long for? When she kisses, her lips curve, compress, flatten, let go. When she kisses, her lips, not wet, not quite dry, make their sound. Did you ever try to figure out exactly what you wanted? What I wanted to say existed surely in my body somewhere, in thorax or solar plexus, or perhaps in the larynx, like wine at the top of the bottle. What I wanted to say was that I did what I did for the best, most honorable reason. No. What I wanted was to pull my naked body up onto the raft with minimal loss of skin. What I wanted was to save myself in your eyes, to erase, to delete completely the change I could see in your face. Upper lip accusatory, each iris frozen. What I wanted was to run time backward, as I have seen you do with a movie. The perpetrator undoes the deed, gesture by gesture, in the shadows on the screen, hides the weapon once more in the folds of her dress. Her foot in the red boot takes a step back, another, retreat, retreat. She waits again in the draperies. What I wanted, a second chance. No, I wanted a first chance, a beginning, a sky. And this one starts with the sky. This is a desert landscape. I will say sky and hold it, a huge blue bowl over us in the desert. I will say cactus and have nightfall, a single headlight star between the arms of a saguaro. I will say dry and then not dry. The Guadalupe wash filling with blue water, emptying again to show white sand, and hundreds and thousands of blue blossoms like a narrow river through the dry places. Fragrance from those flowers so very light as to be imaginary, and you real, and I real, in a room with 6 windows, old soft couch with faded floral print we sit upon and sink our bodies into and relax together, our cotton shirt lives opening, our gold foil-wrapped lives opening, opening. And some poems about moms and dads who fight. Argument. My father said, "Why don't you want to talk about it?" And the straight line of her lips said she had said all she was going to say. Her flat back and her green sweater said that was all he was going to hear from her. He said he couldn't win. I kept thinking somebody could win, but I couldn't find the starting line in that house. All week I couldn't find the flags, or the silver trophy, or the posted rules of the game. I found my bedroom, and I found books, and a map with the names of rivers on the crooked blue lines flowing east. Child, go out the front door. Find the wind. Let it blow your hair across your face. Because all night the wind has been talking, promising never again. Promising always, always. And sometimes with little pieces of sleet, touching and touching the smooth, cool cheek of the window. Template. I saw my father sag down on the stairs, fold like a couple of sticks, and weep. A few tears down his face near his nose, his eyes shut, his arms at his sides. And my mother stood a few feet away, making pie crust in a bowl, her fingers pinching flour and Crisco and the dash of salt. Her chin, the chin of her one-legged grandfather, his crutch down and forward and down again, crossing the yard to the barn, where he couldn't pitch hay, but could manage with cursing and grit to milk a Holstein. My mother can mutter with her lips practically closed. My father can cry on the stairs, and none of my words can lift him, or make my mother's hands stop shaping and rolling and turning the flat white circle of pie crust, dragging it limp through flour. Education. From her white knuckles, I learned that fear is a thing to hang on to, as if it had value, as if it were a calf at the end of a rope. From her stories, I learned that a plain vanilla life must be frosted thick with icing, sliced, laid on your best plate, and sprayed with fake whipped cream. From her silences, I learned that small injuries are rubies to be polished and set into a crown. Once you learn this, you know it for a long time. From him, late, stepping over the threshold of the back door in his work boots, I learned that tools are faithful, that work is good. Work is a totem pole. You carve and carve a lifetime into a tall column with staring eyes and fierce faces, larger and more colorful than your own. Some poems about the body. For my body, belly, thank you, holding whatever beef I feed on. What to do with the corn chips, the almonds, the late night bread. Arms hanging on until you crumble. Neck stiff, afraid of plunder. Spine and ribs, all my bones, lusty, involved. All pouches, blossoms, shoots, sinews, cul-de-sacs, seed pods, waiting for harvest. Thank you. The son you bore drove up and parked in front of the house at Christmas. How giddy, how foolish the body, leaving the kitchen, the food roasting or boiling or waiting. Metatarsals, shoeless, down the sidewalk to greet him. Iris and pupil and retina working as if to remember this. His body in his gray parka, getting out of the car, keys in his hand, his arms reaching to hold as your arms reach to hold. Body, storehouse of the infinite, giddy, foolish, forgiven. Pinning his hand. My son emails, hunting and pecking, that he has injured his hand. I did it playing kickball, he says, but I am telling my friends I was pulling children from a burning building. A joke from this intense and serious man. Was he ever tiny enough to lodge inside me? Do I know him at all? I hit reply, telling him to take care of his body as if it were his beloved child, which it is, which he is, mine. That child in the kitchen for whom I made chocolate chip cookies. He's only 3 years old and wants to see the cookie dough. So I lift him to the counter, seat him beside the mixer. I place him next to danger so he can see the slippery eggs easing into butter and sugar. He who builds his own deck on the north side of his house. He who goes down to the river on Fridays after work and bikes with his dog on the trail for hours. His young mother so young, so much the fool, so much the loner. I would take better care of you. I would do better. You who have moved away, and take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, I tell the sky over the trees in his general direction. The morning the surgery is slated. The doctor scrubbed and informed, taking, I think, my sleeping son's hand into his own. Some unknown surgeon standing in for the mother, and in some expert way, with deliberate, patient skill, pinning the broken places. Mammogram. My name is Maggie, she says, and I'll be doing your mammogram today. Maggie, all day in a windowless room, saying dozens of times, I'm just going to have you step up here. Now if you'll turn a little to your right, put your arm here. She lifts my left breast, the one with vague densities my doctor wants a closer look at. She lays it on a cold steel shelf. Her foot presses a switch. A piece of plexiglass, a colorless flat hand winds down, thins my breast, flattens it under plastic into a fat, living capital A. The nipple stretched like a maroon stocking cap at the top of the big A. Maggie's foot taps, the A spreads, big A, bigger A, humongous A. How's that, she says. Don't breathe, she says, and steps behind her shield, pushes buttons. You can breathe now, she says. But I have been, a little, all along, just for luck. She is going to show these to the radiologist, and would I wait right here? In my tissue paper gown, I wait. I half take off the gown and do my own exam. You look good to me. You look fat and sleek and happy as a baby. You with 3 black dots where Maggie marked with her felt tip. Hey you, I say, you're good. You're both okay. Sure enough, Maggie comes back and she says everything's fine. And though I think she means the x-rays are readable, not fuzzy, I'll take it. Yes, Maggie, I'm fine. Both right and left, I'm fine, past the lady at information. I'm fine out the revolving door. Fine on South 27. Fine at Commercial Federal, where the cashier, who under her blue jacket is probably a 38 or 40D, asks me how I am today. And reinflated, having found in a pocket early this morning an old check I forgot to cash, and having cashed it, and having the day off, and having the left and right in all their densities against my favorite washed out purple shirt, and having no stainless steel plexiglass callbacks for at least 6 months, I tell the cashier, I'm fine. I'm truly fine. Things that do not matter. The monarch emerges wet from its shell and hangs by delicate feet. A drop of wing dye falls. Excess, always excess. Scattered on the continent are dried pools of womb water from this or that body, the last of the yolk, the extra dram from the birth. These do not matter. In the way moonrise above the ocean at this moment makes no difference. The hand of the sea at this moment washes the rocks and at this moment recedes. I'll end on this poem where the lovers leave town early in the morning. We leave the ATM before dawn. When we leave the ATM before dawn, clutching new 20s, when we drive toward the Sandhills country, when the road becomes a 2-lane, when we are upbeat for no good reason, except maybe 2 travel mugs of very hot coffee and cream and cocoa like you make it, when the tip into daylight is about to happen, when grasslands begin to show in the windows, then I like to imagine our lives in front of us, ticking under the belly of the car as we eat up the road. Look, there's more. Our life together, moving like that. You believing in me, I believing in you. Fragile, we're not. Speed is where it's at. We face what's coming, grasslands parting like a sea on either side of the asphalt. We roar past. We leave little farmhouses bobbing in our wake, trees swirling. You and me, babe, you and me, immortals on a road trip.